As African-descended people, we must recognize that virtually every major religious tradition ultimately traces its roots to the civilizations of ancient Africa. When Indo-Europeans emerged from the Ice Age and encountered the deeply continuous spiritual practices of melanated peoples, from Egypt's pyramids to Kush's temples, they adopted and reshaped these teachings to suit their own worldviews. Our concern should not lie with any holy book itself, but with how its original wisdom has been interpreted and, in many cases, distorted. The foundational texts of both the Old and New Testaments derive from much older Egyptian sources, the pyramid texts, coffin texts, and the Book of Coming Forth by Day. Over millennia, those powerful narratives of creation, death, and rebirth have been reframed, most notably by Indo-European traditions, to sever their astronomical and Afrocentric contexts. Our task is to reclaim and recontextualize these stories, grounding them in the original Sun People philosophy from the Upper Nile region. We honor scholars like John Henry Clark, George G. M. James, Amos Wilson, Shashi McIntosh, Professor Kaba Kamini, and many others who have paved the way, even as we continue to refine our understanding of Wu-Sabat for today's generation. Melanin is not merely a pigment in the skin, it permeates every organ and gland, from the beating of the heart to the flow of our blood, from our lungs' gas exchange to our reproductive capacity. At the very inception of life, when sperm and egg fuse into a zygote, the outer cell layer, ectoderm, is rich in what becomes neuromelanin, the melanin specific to the brain and nervous system. Neuromelanin guides the formation of the neural tube, spinal cord, and complex brain structures. As development continues, eumelanin, true melanin, spreads throughout the body, maintaining physiological functions in every system. Without it, tissues could not carry oxygen, fight infection, or carry out countless essential processes. The largest organ, our skin, is part of the integumentary system, a network dependent on melanin to protect and regulate the body. There is no such thing as complexion in scientific terms, only degrees of pigmentation. People of all ancestries produce melanin. Differences arise from genetic factors, dominant versus recessive, and environmental adaptations to sunlight. Even individuals with albinism or vitiligo possess melanin in crucial organs. It is the skin's production that varies. Our strength lies in understanding these processes, celebrating melanin's fundamental role in sustaining life and consciousness. In the decimal system, we count from 0 through 9, 10 numerals, yet the concept of 10 represents one complete set and a zero remainder. Every larger number can be reduced back to a single digit by summing its individual numerals. No matter how vast the number, it ultimately resolves to a value between 0 and 9. The number 9, which leaves a remainder of 9 when divided by 10, symbolizes completion, transformation, and the threshold before a new cycle, 10, begins. In many African spiritual systems, 9 corresponds to the end of one epoch and the preparation for rebirth. It resonates with the 9 months of gestation and echoes through cosmology, hieroglyphs, and sacred architecture. Today, as we stand at a pivotal juncture, death of the old and birth of the new, 9 reminds us that we are all concluding one chapter and on the cusp of the next. Karma, in the Egyptian tradition of Ma'at, encompasses truth, justice, harmony, balance, and reciprocity. Ma'at teaches that every action sets an echoing vibration into the universe. As you sow, so shall you reap. Just as a bat's echolocation returns to reveal hidden obstacles, our deeds return to us, often magnified. If we truly believe that our thoughts and actions would boomerang back, we would treat others with empathy and respect. Humanity's collective suffering arises from ignoring this principle. Recognizing the cosmic law of reciprocity can guide us to build a world founded on mutual care rather than exploitation. Different cultures approach relationships through distinct lenses. The African, Sun People, perspective emphasizes a person-to-person bond, valuing individual dignity and mutual exchange. This interpersonal rapport forms the foundation of community, which in turn shapes the nation. The Asian perspective often frames relationships as person-to-group alignment, prioritizing loyalty to the collective over personal ties. The European, Indo-European, approach tends to view relationships through a person-to-material wealth lens, objectifying people and resources for profit. Understanding these worldviews helps us see why social interactions vary globally and reveals the deep impact of our cultural legacies. With a chair or with a table, there is no human contact like with a black person's gaze, and that's why we take exclusion so personally. When someone passes us by, they could have many reasons, but often it's because they see us as objects. If we don't recognize that, we miss the point. The US government is now offering women $5,000 to have children, an initiative recently reported in the New York Times. Europe is doing the same, desperate to reverse declining birth rates. The Caucasus assumed they were the majority, but their numbers are dwindling. 2 books explore this: Birth, by Ben Wattenberg, and The Death of the West by Patrick Buchanan. Europe even pays dink couples, double income, no kids, because the cost to raise a child now easily exceeds $500,000, factoring in diapers, food, education, healthcare, and unpaid parental leave. With rising grocery bills, $150 or more for a small shop just for 1 week, raising children is becoming untenable without state support like Medicare or Medicaid. This ties into immigration debates. Many Central and South Americans were here before Europeans pushed them south. Before New Mexico was a U.S. territory, it was Mexico. We need to rethink who the illegal alien really is. Dr. Francis Cress Welsing taught us about symbolism in everyday objects, guns as phalluses, bullets as ejaculated sperm, and white balls versus brown balls in sports representing racial hierarchies. Even football goalposts resemble female anatomy. Every generation builds on the last. Today's teachers and lecturers stand on the shoulders of Dr. Clark, who stood on Al-Turabi's, who in turn stood on Du Bois. Now the old order, the who've had 500 years to get it right, is cracking. The U.S. Constitution alone has more amendments than enumerated rights. Each amendment corrects a mistake in the original document. As a black man excluded from the founding of that document, we should rewrite it entirely, just as religious texts get revised. Indo-European civilizations never lasted more than 500 years. Persians fell to Greeks, Greeks to Romans, Romans crumbled by 426 AD, then Moors revived civilization in North Africa and Iberia until 1492. Now Europe's Moorish legacy is fading too. All power belongs to the people. Any regime serving only a select few inevitably collapses. Consider feudalism, the root of oligarchy, autocracy, even modern democracies. Like in The Exorcist, multiple manifestations share a single source. They'll promise you the world, freedom, security, prosperity, study your desires, then enslave you if you take the bait. Whatever they claim, it's a lie. This world is ending. Democracy and republic literally mean power of the people, yet laws serve wealthy white men. Education was never executed correctly, and bad schooling is worse than none. It's our responsibility to educate our children, and we especially need black men in schools to balance the dominance of female educators. Malcolm X's life illustrates transformation, from Malcolm Little to Detroit Red to Al-Hajj Malik El-Shabazz, and finally the son who returned home. Like the dung beetle, which rolls a ball of dung into the sun to nourish its young, we transform what society discards, chitterlings and pig feet, into gourmet soul food. We turn dung into nectar. Dr. King reminded us that character is forged in conflict, not comfort. Our greatest lessons come from our toughest times. Each of us is dealt a hand of cards in life. It's not the cards themselves, but how we play them, that determines our fate. Be prepared for opportunities, even if none arise, because when the right moment comes, you'll be ready. As black people in this hemisphere, our survival is a miracle. Ancestors paid the price, some drowned, some perished, but those who remained left a legacy. Survival isn't about brute strength, it's about adaptability. We've endured democracy's absence here for 4 centuries, the laws never applied to us. Now, as others face similar challenges, we should teach them how to survive. They could learn from our experience. Every morning a black person wakes up, they win simply by surviving. And every day, perfect your craft, do better today than yesterday. That mentality freed us from plantations, it can lift us from the projects. Remember, the David and Goliath story can be traced back to Cush. The Egyptian tale of Heru battling his uncle Set parallels it, divine insight granted by making the eye whole, just as the Force empowers heroes in Star Wars. Our ancestors wielded that inner power, what the Greeks called magic, but we know as Heka, the will of the cosmos. From the Ka, universal spirit, and Ba, individual soul, to the Merkabah's divine geometry, these teachings remind us we're drops in the same cosmic ocean. Our strength comes from unity, Ka, our uniqueness from the soul's shape, Ba, and our path from the sacred science of spirit and matter intertwined. As we explore the Moors, the significance of mere cosmic love beyond agape will guide us. And as we remember Oya's storms, Shango's thunder, and the ninefold power of the Divine Mother, we tap into millennia of ancestral wisdom. Let's prepare for the feast. The Quran describes God as the light of the heavens and the earth, light upon light. In esoteric Islamic cosmology, this light is often understood as the subtle, spiritual medium, what classical scientists called ether. Ether here is conceived not as the outdated physical fluid of 19th century physics, but as a living, cosmic plasma or spiritual water in which all created things move and breathe. Just as the drops of water in the ocean are each distinct yet inseparable from the whole, we too exist as individual sparks within this vast luminous sea. Neutrinos are the most elusive and lightest particles known to modern science. They stream through everything, buildings, planets, even our bodies, almost without interacting. Millions pass through you every second, entering and exiting effortlessly. In the cosmic scheme, they resemble the drops of higher reality, invisible, nearly weightless, and fundamental to the coherence of the universe's deeper fabric. In the Shabaka stone and ancient Egyptian thought, Noon is the primal cosmic ocean, the potentiality from which all form emerges. The universe, like a womb, held within it the seeds, panspermia, of every galaxy, star, planet, and living being. The Big Bang or Pada in Shabaka terminology initiated the shift from pure potential to kinetic creation, a process called kara-sepi, becoming. From that original spark, the cosmos unfolded in ordered layers, ultimately giving rise to us, conscious beings meant to know and reflect the Creator. The Moors understood that our bodily humors, blood, phlegm, etc., are governed by subtle flows of energy. Today we'd call it plasma. They devised the kirtone, a 4-stringed instrument tuned to harmonize each humor. Later, Ziryab added a 5th, plasma string when he introduced the lute to Andalusia. Playing this string aligned the body's deeper currents, promoting mental, spiritual, and physical healing. Thus, music is not mere entertainment but a precise science of resonance and restoration. In their teaching, Jehovah's Witnesses hold that the soul resides in the blood. Because blood both carries life and reveals our inner state, medical tests, they believe transfusing another's blood would introduce another soul into ours. Therefore, they abstain from transfusions, even at great personal risk, to preserve the unique integrity of each individual's life essence. Sirius A, called Sod or Sigatolo, is the bright, visible star. Sirius B, Bodo, is its tiny, dense companion, the little grain or staple seed of the sky, unseen to the naked eye but central in Dogon lore. The third star, Sirius C, M, is associated with the feminine principle. The Dogon speak of 8 twin spirits, or nomos, each embodying cosmic forces. 1. Urugu, represents perpetual incompleteness, the restless search for wholeness that drives human destiny. Your time and attention are your most precious commodities, far more so than money, which can be lost and regained. How you invest each moment defines your life. To honor the teachers and ancestors who gave their lives to this work, we must pay it forward by sharing knowledge, uplifting others, and stewarding every second we have. A century from now, our descendants may know our names but little of our deeds unless we leave them a living example. Let our descendants say that we spoke truth with courage, toiled relentlessly for justice and knowledge, and feared not death, for we had nothing left to lose. By living with that conviction, by any means necessary, we ensure our spirit endures in the redemption songs of future generations. Many traditions, Jewish, Muslim, Christian, and others, observe a version of Passover. Each has a right to their interpretation. In ancient African cosmology, the phrase "let us make man in our image and after our likeness" was spoken by many celestial and terrestrial angelic hosts for different purposes. The elder angelic host, personifying divine intellect, inspired every generation to preserve wisdom, writings, and scribes, encoded in our DNA and chromosomes, to ignite the primordial fire of intellect. This primordial fire, the mental reservoir, connects us to universal consciousness. To break free from religious spells, our spirit, soul, and chromosomes must become one. Only then can we transition from mortality to immortality, as the willing spirit and fleshly body merge. Our rituals, drums, cymbals, marching, and palms, mean little if we don't comprehend their deeper purpose. For too long, we have mastered the performance of worship without understanding its saving power. A truly living faith requires that body, spirit, soul, mind, blood, and heart harmonize with the 9 principles of divine life. Otherwise, worship remains merely a show. Discovered in 1903 on Elephantine Island in the Nile, Aramaic papyri reveal that the Hyksos, Aryan invaders from Persia, ruled Egypt for centuries, calling themselves Israel and enslaving the original 3 Abrahamic tribes, Israel, Ishmael, and Midian. They merged with local populations and imposed their own story, twisting our heritage. Our religious identity was stolen, not only by conquest but also by our willingness to forsake our own traditions. We have internalized the narratives of our oppressors and neglected our ancestral faith. Now, with the aid of modern technology and scholarship, we can rediscover our true origins and reclaim our spiritual legacy. Revelations 2:9, I know your works, your tribulation and poverty, yet you are rich. I know the blasphemy of those who say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. This warns against false claimants and reminds us to hold fast to genuine heritage. Those who celebrate Passover should acknowledge that no angel of death passed over those doorposts. It was our own guardian Neter Anubis, protector of the deceased, fortifier of the underdog, who watched over our ancestors. Let us honor him and all the guardian hosts by living in unity and truth. Our original Passover is not merely a retelling of Egyptian plagues, but a celebration of reclaiming our genetic and spiritual heritage. Our true religion predates any foreign narrative. Honor your own faith, your own ancestors, and your own traditions. Our oneness with the Most High is sealed in the breath we share, Father Ray in each of us. The King James Bible in your hands is just one English translation, not the original Hebrew or Greek texts, so unless you learn those languages yourself, you can't verify its accuracy. Christianity often hands children translated scriptures without teaching them the original languages, leaving them unable to judge what's true or mistranslated. Not every statement in the Bible is literally true, but its language can still be grammatically correct. For example, "In the beginning God created" is a proper sentence, yet it doesn't claim to be the very first instant of creation or that Adam and Eve were the first humans 6,000 years ago. The Hebrew word for serpent is nakash, meaning whisperer, not the reptile we think of today, so the Eden story uses serpent metaphorically to describe a deceiver rather than a speaking snake. The Bible both forbids killing and commands animal sacrifice. Cain learns killing is acceptable when God permits sacrificing animals, then commits fratricide in the very next chapter, highlighting how human interpretations confuse what's truly forbidden or ordained. Jesus told his disciples to buy swords, yet they weren't attacked, so he didn't foresee that. He knew he would die but clearly feared it, begging his Father in Gethsemane to let the ordeal pass, challenging the notion of Jesus as an all-knowing, willing martyr. Science shows women can perform astonishing feats under extreme pressure, for example, lifting heavy objects to save children, but society and religion teach women they lack power, cutting them off from their own strength and divinity. Pharaoh himself recognized the magic trick that turned Aaron's staff into a snake. It wasn't divine power exclusive to Moses. If humans can channel such power, we too share in the divine capacity, standing equal before any god who delegates miracles through mortals. Tornadoes, school shootings, famine, and other tragedies strike innocents routinely. If an omnipotent God truly guided and protected believers, these horrors wouldn't occur in good neighborhoods or churches. Natural disasters and human evil prove that randomness or human agency wields real power, not an unseen deity. Evil exists because individuals create it. A single person's malevolent act brings suffering to many. If God truly created everything, including the devil, he also created the source of all evil, an uncomfortable truth often glossed over by religion. Relying on an unverified deity disempowers us. Believing in our own inner divinity and capabilities leads to real change. Rather than waiting for divine intervention, we must recognize and exercise the power inherent within ourselves. They say removing the blindfold in the lodge lets you see the light, but really, if you're blindfolded and taken into a bright room, your eyes need time to adjust. When the blindfold comes off, you're still at the mercy of the one who blindfolded you. What they're really teaching is that we are not our own beings. When I'm in a dark room and, over time, begin to see, where does that light come from? It comes from within the soul. Soul in Latin is sol, the sun. That inner light lets us perceive God. Nocturnal creatures harness light from darkness. Some people live with the lights on so they never face themselves in the dark. But sitting alone, you eventually confront the you inside, the part that can both comfort and terrify. If there's a divine you, there's also a darker you. Anyone preaching perfection is hiding flaws. Consider Mary and Joseph. Mary, a woman with two X chromosomes, was told by the male angel Gabriel, who must have had a Y chromosome, that she'd bear a son by the Holy Ghost. Scientifically, where did the Y chromosome come from? Joseph, who knew Mary hadn't been with another man, struggled to understand her pregnancy. The story defies biological reality. We accept religious fables we dismiss in any other context. Would you believe a self-proclaimed holy man who claimed to be born fully divine through a woman, dependent as any newborn? We need to question these narratives with the same rigor we apply to any extraordinary claim. Our education system and religions, passed down by our enslavers, keep us obedient. They taught us the same doctrines used to subjugate us. We deserve truth, not fiction. Teach your children pride in their heritage and identity. Call them princes and princesses, Aman, Isis, not on paper, but in their hearts. Give them books, not guns. Fill their minds with knowledge, not violence. White-dominated systems work for them, not for us. We must build our own institutions, government, law enforcement, education, medicine, and fill them with our people. Take those jobs, judges, lawyers, teachers, doctors. When you enter any building, someone can't push you aside. Stand firm. Egypt gave us profound mysteries, symbols, medicine, architecture. Now we reclaim those secrets. Enter the world of ancient Egypt, learn who we are, and build from our roots.